What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go up 2.29%, so piggybacking off the broader market, which the market was rallying because of what came out over the weekend associated to Trump and the EU. And I kind of found today rather interesting. I think everyone generally knew that there was going to be a substantial push higher, but in the second half of the day I felt like there was going to be some level of a pullback because we do have a lot of big things that could move the market later in the week, such as Nvidia earnings. We also have FOMC, GDP, and PCE. But market seemed to have just really moved higher and FOMOing in. One thing that did stand out to me though was this. So Amit did post a quote from Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley said, "Our research indicates 15 billion of fresh demand coming into the stock market daily. 5 billion from retail, 5 billion from CTAs, 5 billion from corporates. Every dip is being bought." And I completely agree with that. Almost every time there is some bearishness in the market, you see like a quick dip and then you have ultimately it get bought up. So very interesting type of scenario playing out. So definitely something to keep in mind. But aside from that though, you did have no news from SoFi, no SEC filings. So it was just merely piggybacking off of the broader market, and nothing really wrong with that. Just you didn't really see that full level of buying coming from institutions. So these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So again, based on this, you don't really see that full level of kind of buying the dip or FOMOing in. So I think a lot of the volume did come from algorithmic trading today. Nothing really wrong with that. Obviously green is green. I don't think anyone overly cares about that, but I kind of found that interesting, especially based on what Morgan Stanley did state. But aside from that though, shorts, they did increase 665,000 shares today. So they were really calling out the BS, saying that today wasn't justified. And it wasn't just with SoFi, a lot of other heavily shorted stocks, all kind of same scenario played out, that you did have them really increasing. And today I kind of felt that they were going to be rather timid. Second half of the week probably a little bit more active, but today was rather abnormal. But 13.68% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 148.6 million shares overall are being shorted. So kind of just watch for them to be fairly active into kind of the rest of the week. Looking at options though, 7.26 million in calls, 4.69 in puts, 51% of all the options being done were bullish in nature. And one thing that stood out to me clearly, as you can kind of see, a lot of institutions were hedging, and most of which were bullish. So even if we look at the last 5 minutes of the trading day, 315,000 in premiums between 255 and 3. And if we kind of orient this based on premium, you see the primary one, which was 51,000 in premiums, was bullish. Everything else was kind of smaller transactions but bearish. But like I said, a lot of which were kind of more primarily bullish with more of a bearish undertone. So they're hedging obviously, but the bullish one right here was a $20 call, and that is for January 16th, 2026. And based on the premium that they did pay, 86 cents, they are anticipating for it to be roughly around above 21 at least. And then flip side, they did $13 puts. So a lot of big money was definitely getting into SoFi through options. Based on the bulls, you do see a consensus for it to be above roughly that 14 to 1450 for this week. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 1250. So a little bit more of a further breakdown. So given everything, it's kind of middle ground a little bit, but with it closing at 1339, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 1366 is going to be the next strong target slash resistance, and then 1323 is going to be the next strong support. And you can kind of see it did bounce off of that 1309 range. So it goes to show again that SoFi does want to stay in that general $13 to $17 kind of range as what it tends to really like, and especially in this news cycle ever since I believe like October, it loves that $13 to $17 range. So just anticipate, at least for the foreseeable future, for it to kind of stay within that. Aside from that though, you do have the shareholder meeting coming out tomorrow, and as I mentioned in my video, I believe it was yesterday, I don't really anticipate anything crazy to come from that. unless board of directors is your forte. Not really mine, but if it is yours, then tomorrow might be a very big day, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be live streaming that. Again, it might not, like, there isn't any touchy things. If a stock might be doing like potentially a reverse stock split or raising the authorized share count, then yeah, maybe that's worthwhile to kind of tune in and vote. But based on everything for SoFi, it's just going to be nothing crazy. But on the actual chart itself, you do have it kind of inches away from that 100-day moving average. So that is at 1357. So a key point to really watch for tomorrow. If it is able to kind of get above that, then anticipate a very nice push higher, at least on a technical standpoint. But there is a lot of big data points as well over the next couple of days, as I've already mentioned, that could really change the dynamic of this. But at least on a technical standpoint, if it does get above that 1357, then anticipate further highs. And as I mentioned over the weekend, the Elliott Wave Technicals is projecting, as long as it stays above that 12, I think it was 48, then you can see at least between that $15 to $16 in the short term. So with some good data coming out from GDP, PCE, you could see that come to fruition. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? What's your overall thoughts on the market today? Do you think that today's overwhelming green day was justified, or do you think that it was more just false hope kind of pumping or something else? Like, what's your general kind of 2 cents on all that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, pop over to my Discord, completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need in life. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.